What if we had a system where we could absolutely transform the way we look at chess? We've had a system where we could memorize every single thing that we looked at like a photographic memory. So we could do openings, we could do entire games, we could play blindfold chess very quickly, almost instantaneously. Wouldn't that be a miracle? Well, that's what I'm going to discuss in this video, and it's going to get weird. So, disclaimer before we start, I don't have this system, right? This amazing system where you can memorize stuff instantly and you can memorize entire games. I don't have it. I'm just discussing the possibility of it because during the lockdown, I got very interested in memory techniques. So, obviously, the lockdown came, coronavirus came along, the chess clubs, the pubs were all closed down, and I tried to keep my eye in with chess online a little bit. But to be honest, I didn't really get into that. I couldn't really maintain my interest in chess. During the lockdown, I much preferred going out playing chess. So I need to find something else to fill the void. I like reading books. I read a lot of books. I wrote my Lavender and Brown series. I wrote my first novel. But before that, I got very interested in memory techniques, right? I was just fascinated by the idea of the memory palace. So if you're not familiar with the memory palace, I'm not going to explain what the memory palace is in this video. I'll give you links to where you can go and look at that. But basically, the memory palace is a system whereby people can memorize, hundreds or thousands of different items, right? Using a particular technique. And for example, a typical person can memorize 7 pieces of information. Like, so take the typical shopping list, right? If you look to the shopping list and then the shopping list is put away again, you could probably remember the first sort of items on the list, but you certainly couldn't memorize all 20 items on a list or 50 items on a list. But using the memory palace technique, you can do that. You can memorize words, numbers, you can memorize playing cards, people memorize pi to thousands of places, things like that. So the memory champions can do all of these things. So I was looking at this thinking, wow, that's absolutely amazing. Are these people just total geniuses? Does the brain work differently? Do they have photographic memories? So I looked into this, I read about it quite a bit, bought books on this, watched videos, things like that. And it turns out, no, obviously they're very talented people, but they are no different from most ordinary people. The difference is that they employ memory techniques, the memory palace being one of them, being the main one. So I sort of set myself a little target, and I got interested in one aspect of this, and I thought, how far can I push this, for example? So I took a pack of cards, and I thought, how many cards can I memorize? I've not done anything, and like most people, I did about 6. I did about 6 cards, and then I forgot the next one, and things like that. So what I did is I went away, and I researched how to memorize cards. I thought I'll start with a pack of playing cards, and it took a while to get to know that sort of system, and I studied the system, and eventually I was able to memorize 10 cards, 20 cards, 30 cards after just a couple of minutes, and I memorized those cards. Right, I forget chess openings all the time, but here I am memorizing a pack of cards, 30 cards deep. I was pretty happy with that. And then I stretched it to 40. Eventually, I could do a full pack of cards in under 5 minutes using the memory palace technique. And those cards would stay in my head all day long. So, for example, my brother would come along and I would say, well, pick a card at random, give me a number. And he will say, well, okay, what's the 32nd card? And I go, it's the King of Clubs. Like, as quick as that, bang, and he flipped through and he was amazed. And then I thought I'll push it a little bit further. Right, and I was able to memorize 2 whole packs of cards. And then I started memorizing a third, and I thought, where's this going? Right, I'm just memorizing playing cards. Right, it's a nice party trick, but where's this sort of thing going? So I kind of stopped with that, and then I sort of played around with other memory techniques. Still a memory palace, but slightly different systems. And I memorized all the number 1 records in the UK from 1960 to 1990, I think it was. So it was 500 number 1s, and I memorized all of those. And someone could come along and say, what was the number 1 in June 1917? I'd just tell you straight away using these techniques. And this was after about 3 or 4 months of playing around with this system. So these systems work for things like that, playing cards. These are obviously, that's nothing compared to what world memory champions can do. I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if you could do this into chess and make this into a chess system where you could use it to memorize openings, memorize whole games, play blindfold, and things like that. So I'm throwing it out there. Is it possible to do this? So I was Googling around earlier on, and I found this article on Chessbase, and this is what it says basically, that it's already been done. Yeah, so it turns out that this has already been done. It's been done by Timur Guerreyev when he did the record blindfold simul event, and he was using memory palace techniques then in order to play blindfold chess. But is it possible to do it with openings? I don't know. I think it probably is. I think the problem with the memory palace and chess openings is that the memory palace techniques uses like a linear list of things. So you've got like one list. So I could, memorize 154 playing cards because I transferred a card into an image and I placed that image along a journey. So I had 2 different journeys for each pack of playing cards. So when my brother said, pack 2, 27, I'd say, the ace of spades, because I put it on a memory palace. But the problem with chess, and in particular chess openings, is you've got a branching, a tree effect of variations. So that makes the memory palace technique difficult to implement without a little bit of study, a little bit of work on that. So this is something I'm interested in, and I don't have the answers. I'm reading on this a little bit to see if I can find a technique where I can sort of fit this into the openings. Whereas Timur Guerreyev there was using it for whole games where they're linear. This is the game, and it's constantly moving. But he uses the images to plot one line. So I suspect memorizing full games is pretty easy, actually. The techniques do work. It's been proven the techniques are amazingly brilliant, but they've not been transferred to chess openings, to my knowledge, as of yet. Obviously, Timur's been doing it for blindfold chess. That's how he memorizes the blindfold games, and that makes sense now, actually, having read that article. So, anyway, if anybody's got any ideas on this, or if you're into memory techniques as well, and you've got any ideas how this could be implemented into openings, I'm particularly interested in openings and memorizing openings using these techniques. Now, I know memorizing openings is not usually a good idea because you want to know the ideas and the structures. I'm doing this as a sort of experiment. I'm doing this as a kind of, can this be done? Can you memorize openings using these techniques? The problem is the branching out effects. You're going to have multiple kind of memory palace journeys that you're going to have to sort of branch off on try and work, and I'm not sure how that's going to work. And the problem with openings is they sort of transpose between each other as well. So basically, has anybody got any ideas on this? It's something I'm going to look at. I'm going to try and sort of make work. We'll play around a little bit, but it would be another side project, trying to invent a memory palace technique to apply to openings. And it's going to be difficult, but something I'm going to look into anyway. But have a look at the article. It's a really interesting article. I will put it in the description, the Chessbase one. And you might just read that and think, actually, yeah, this is really interesting. I'm interested in this. I'm interested in memory techniques, hopefully. Anyway, thanks for watching. Goodbye.